In the late 1980s, a new stretch of road was laid through the scenic Peak District in northern England. The purpose was simple: reroute heavy traffic away from a small Yorkshire town. But soon after construction began, odd and unsettling reports started to surface. Within a short time, the road became infamous, not just for strange paranormal activity, but also for the unusually high number of accidents it would claim. This is the story of one of Britain's most haunted highways, the Stocksbridge bypass.it. Was the evening of November 17, 1991. The sun had long dipped below the horizon, leaving the rolling hills of Yorkshire shrouded in cool, dusky darkness. A faint glow appeared above the tree-line, headlights slicing through the night. What was a young woman returning home after an exhausting late shift at the hospital. The dashboard clock read 2:51 a.m. As her high beams illuminated a road sign ahead, the white letters stood out against the reflective metal. A 616, Stocksbridge. She stifled a yawn and glanced at the rearview mirror. The sight behind her was just endless black, offering no sense of comfort. A sudden wave of isolation washed over her, the air inside the car seeming to turn cold. Somewhere deep in her gut, an unnamed dread began to stir. Trying to shake the feeling, she switched on the radio, only to be met with a burst of static. The harsh sound prickled her nerves even more. Almost involuntarily, she turned her head toward the empty passenger seat, yet felt as though she wasn't alone. Another glance in the mirror revealed nothing. It took only a second of distraction for her to look back to the road, and her heart lurched violently. A lone figure stood directly in her path. Her reflexes took over. Both feet slammed onto the brake pedal. The tires shrieked in protest, the car sliding sideways on the icy asphalt. There was a tremendous jolt, and then the world turned over as the vehicle tumbled down an embankment before coming to a brutal halt. The final image burned into her mind before she lost consciousness was the figure she had seen, now completely gone. As though it had never been there at all. That crash wasn't the first to happen here, and it wouldn't be the last. Fast forward 25 years to October 2016. Local radio stations reported yet another closure of the same road. This time, a van and a lorry had collided head-on. The drivers survived, but the van driver's injuries were severe. It was just one of hundreds of accidents since 1988 in less than 3 decades. The bypass had witnessed at least 25 fatalities, averaging nearly one a year. All these collisions happened on a short section of the A616, known locally and ominously as the Stocksbridge bypass. Today, it's considered one of the most dangerous roads in the United Kingdom. But danger isn't the only reason it's feared. This 5-mile stretch is also regarded as one of the most haunted roads not only in Britain, but perhaps in the entire world. Stocksbridge itself sits on the edge of Sheffield, in South Yorkshire. These days, it's home to around 12,000 people. But in the early 1700s, the landscape was almost entirely forested, a peaceful valley with the River Little Don winding through it, dotted with farms and stone cottages that a man named John Stocks built a wooden bridge over the river, which would later give the area its name. At the time, a rough dirt track ran alongside the water, used mainly by locals. When a toll road was introduced, traffic increased, and one day, tragedy struck. A stagecoach crashed violently along this route. In the years after, travelers swore they saw a phantom coach rolling through the darkness, driven by something that wasn't alive. The old road remained in use for centuries, eventually accommodating motor vehicles in the early 20th century. Then, more than 200 years after John Stocksbridge was built, construction began on the modern bypass, which would incorporate parts of that historic route. Before the road even opened, the land began to show signs that something wasn't right. In September 1987, 2 security guards, David Goldthorpe and Stephen Brooke, were working a night shift near Pieroy Bridge, close to the construction site. From early in the evening, they both had the eerie sense of being watched. A couple of hours into their shift, they heard what sounded like children singing far away. It was well past midnight, and the site was isolated, so why would there be children here at all? As they moved to investigate, they spotted a group of kids dressed in old-fashioned, possibly medieval clothing. The children stood in a ring beneath a pylon, moving in a way that resembled dancing around a maypole. Before the guards could approach, the figures vanished. Still shaken, the men drove To the bridge itself. Peroid Bridge connects to a nearby steelworks and is busy during the day, but almost deserted at night. As they scanned the area, a shadowy, hooded figure appeared on the bridge above, its clothing resembling that of a monk. Goldthorpe drove up onto the embankment for a closer look, but when the headlights hit the figure, the light seemed to pass right through it. The apparition disappeared instantly. The next morning, Police Constable Dick Ellis arrived at the station to find the two security guards pale and shaken. They described the children beneath the pylon and the monk on the bridge, both of which they believed had a sinister presence. Ellis and his colleague, P.C. John Beat, were skeptical at first. They joked that the guards should speak to a priest. But later that day, the rector of Stocksbridge Church phoned the station. The guards were with him and refused to leave. Still terrified at the rector's urging, the police decided to investigate. On the night of September 11th. Ellis and Beat parked near the bridge. At first, they treated the watch as a routine stakeout, not expecting much. Within 10 minutes, Ellis noticed movement on the overpass. Thinking it might be trespassers, he climbed up to investigate. A rustling noise turned out to be nothing more than a sheet of plastic flapping in the wind. They laughed, thinking perhaps the security guards had overreacted to something similar. But their amusement didn't last long. Out of nowhere, Ellis saw the torso of a man pressed against the passenger side window, no more than 2 inches from his face. Startled, he shouted, and the figure vanished. Seconds later, Beat saw the same thing on his side. The figure wore a robe tied at the waist with rope, but its face was obscured. When it disappeared again, Ellis stepped out to search the area, but there were no footprints, no running sounds, nothing. Their fear escalated when the patrol car refused to start. When it finally turned over, a loud banging sound came from the boot, as if someone were hitting it from the inside. The officers drove away convinced they had seen a ghost. Word spread quickly, and locals began calling Peroid Bridge Ghost Bridge. Other residents reported similar sightings. Graham Brooke and his son Nigel, out for a training run at dusk, saw a monk-like figure moving as though its legs were buried in the ground. The figure's face was completely dark, and the air around it carried a musty odor. The Stocksbridge bypass officially opened on Friday, May 13, 1988, a date some found ominous. Over the first decade, 14 people died in crashes here. Many believe the monk and the mysterious children still haunt the bypass, possibly even causing some accidents. Some speculate that the monk's grave was disturbed during construction. Others believe the ghostly children are linked to ancient sacrificial rituals from the Bronze or Iron Age. There are also reports of a spectral black dog, known in folklore as a barghest, seen near the road. These creatures are often tied to sites of death or execution and are said to be omens of disaster. Adding to the mystery, it's believed a group of children once died in a mining accident in Stocksbridge, and their spirits may also linger. Motorists continue to report unsettling encounters. A monk appearing in the middle of the road, a faceless figure sitting in the passenger seat, ghostly voices of children drifting through the air. One particularly chilling account from 1990 describes David and Judy Simpson driving along a minor road connected to the bypass when a figure leapt in front of their car. But instead of a collision, the figure simply vanished on impact. Despite fewer paranormal reports in recent years, the Stocksbridge bypass remains one of the UK's most feared roads, known for both its accident rate and its ghostly legends. Whether the deaths feed the hauntings or the hauntings cause the deaths, no one can say for certain. But for those who have driven it on a dark night, the idea that more than just engine power is at work here is hard to dismiss.